Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today's episode focuses on some toy collecting tourism. There's an amazing toy show held in York, Pennsylvania, the Sunday after Thanksgiving every year, and it's one of my must-attend shows, and I'm here to show off some of the things I saw and some of the things I bought there. I traveled out to the York Fairgrounds with my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon. Rose is the host of the radio show Retro Talk. If you're into analog radio, you can also stream episodes online. I got up pretty early in the morning to travel an hour out to their place. Then we traveled an hour to York. The York Fairgrounds has multiple buildings. We were in Memorial Hall, which is a center lobby area with two main convention halls. It's pretty warehousey, for sure.
It's cold out here, Kevin.
But the two halls traditionally are this toy show that focuses a lot on die-cast toys, but also a lot of vintage action figures. After we enter, we always go in the hall on the left first, and almost immediately Rose found some New Kids on the Block dolls.
Oh, the right stuff.
Rose has told some stories before about her obsession with the band, and I remember them being a thing as a kid and actually kind of liking their music, the hit songs, but as a boy in that era, you were supposed to, despise them. Do you remember that, in elementary school and or middle school, despising the pretty boys that all the girls fawned over? It's a weird thing you go through. One of the first things I saw that kind of blew my mind was this Tri-Logo Cy Snoodles and the Rebo Band in a closed box. So the American Kenner release of this has plastic window on the front, and you can see all the figures and the accessories and stuff inside it. It's pretty large, but those windows tend to yellow, and I don't know, the compact nature of this and the clean look of the box was pretty cool. One of the vendors had some amazing Toon Turtles. This Toon Turtle Shredder looked awesome. I have him minus one of his accessories, so I am excited to have him in my collection. The Vernon below that I do also have, but he's in pretty rough shape and definitely missing accessories. They also had one of the Neutrinos. The Toon Turtles line is one of the segments of the Ninja Turtle collection that I would really like to have complete. I have most of the figures released in the first couple years of that toy line, and then that's the one little patch at the tail end that I am very interested in. There's too many variations of the Turtles in that line for me to really be interested in collecting the line as a whole. There was a guy at York the last time I went who had a parts bin for $1 a piece. Great deals. He did raise his prices this time on the parts for G.I. Joe vehicles and stuff, but he had a huge bin of Batman toys. They were pretty cheap. I shouldn't be buying more Batman toys. I think we did our Batman episodes for this show with Tony. We did the first movie, and we did Batman Returns. Maybe we'll do more, but I just don't have a ton of other stuff to show off. But I picked up a few oddball things today. I got one Penguin Commando. He is missing his missile, but I always thought the Penguin Commandos are cool. I am not trying to crazy army build these like my buddy Ed Rentz is, but I couldn't leave him behind. I got a Batman Forever Riddler, right? This is Batman Forever? Yes, Batman Forever Riddler. I have the Two-Face from this movie. I didn't have a Riddler. You know, you gotta get the Batman villains. I picked up this Batman. I don't know what his name is. Maybe I can look it up and put it on the screen, or you can leave it in the comments. But this is one of these classic Batman figures from this line. It seems like his wings should pop out, but I'm having some trouble getting that to happen. He's also got this backpack plugged on him. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but this is that sort of classic Dark Knight collection mold that I like a lot. And I have been sort of collecting some of the different figures of it. We talk about some of these figures in the Batman Returns episode, because those two lines sort of overlapped a little bit, or flowed into each other. But I don't think I had this paint scheme of Batman before, so I snagged him on the cheap. And another quick change Batman. I don't think I even knew this one existed. I had the Batman Returns quick change Batman with the black jumpsuit that has some purple lines on it, and all his armor is black. I love that one. This one with the blue cape but silver details is fantastic. I do not know what the story is with this one. Oh, it's not Michael Keaton. Holy smoke. So this is a different Batman toy line, reusing some parts. I gotta take off his armor real quick so we can see what his shirt design is. Trying to not mess up his belt here. I'd be sad if I broke it. Oh, it's just like a swirl design on that shirt. No graphics on it. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm maybe even more excited now that I bought this guy. But this is like a Batman release I didn't know about. The same guy I bought the Batman figures off of had a big pile of G.I. Joe file cards. I didn't have my list with me. I don't know which ones I need. But he had an uncut lift ticket file card, the pilot to the Tomahawk, my favorite G.I. Joe vehicle. So I grabbed this because I know my childhood one is cut out. And uncut cards are kind of cool. So I grabbed this. I didn't get any other file cards, though, because some of them weren't cut real nice, and none of them stood out in my head as being, like, kind of hard to come by, so I probably have them. After we finished in the first hall, we lost Rose hunting for dolls, and Tony and I transitioned into the room on the right, where we know our buddy Chris Lamont is always vending, and one of the first things I saw in there was Graphic Traffic. This was a box set of white cars with little markers you could draw on them. I do not remember this. What a novel idea. I wonder if it worked at all, or if it was a total letdown for the kids that got it. The two halls were very busy. It's always jam-packed at York, and you kind of get stuck in these rows. The rows are literally wide enough for 2 to 2.5 people, like shoulder to shoulder. So if somebody stops to look at a table, traffic gets stuck behind them. Sometimes you can kind of get like a third person down the middle to kind of sneak around, but depending on how traffic flows, it really can back up there. I wish they had a little more aisle space, but, you know, they're trying to pack in the tables. Can't have enough die-cast cars there to look at. I feel like that's the one complaint I heard from some of our friends that were there, and we bumped into a lot of people that we know. But it's like, you know, you pay your money to get in, and then you can't move at your own pace. You got to move at the flow of the crowd. And so sometimes you sort of get stuck staring at a table of stuff you're not interested in. And I get that from the opposite perspective. The old guys that get stuck staring at a 80s or 90s toy table are probably like, all right, I got to get to my diecast. And we're in the other position going like, yep, there's some beautiful trucks. Can we move? I saw this plush Goliath doll, and I think it stood out to me because I'm currently rewatching Gargoyles, this time with my youngest stepson. And the doll kind of stood out to me because it's a little bit off model and very dark blue. It's just sort of silly looking. I don't remember a lot of the Gargoyles merchandise besides like the basic figures, because that show came out when I was in like high school. I was watching it, but not collecting any of the merchandise that was tied into it. The show overall had a great mix of figures, Masters of the Universe, stuff like Rambo. You know, as you see my purchases sprinkled throughout this video too, you'll see it's a really nice mix of stuff. I picked up this young adult fiction G.I. Joe book, Fool's Gold, number 3. I thought this was part of the Choose Your Own Adventure, Find Your Fate books, but this is just a straight story. I don't know if I knew about these, and now I really want to get all of them and read them. This is kind of blowing my mind, because when I bought it at the show, I thought it was a Find Your Fate book that I didn't have, because I didn't recognize the cover of it. Weird. I've mentioned him already in this episode. My buddy Chris Lamont always vends at this show. I see him lots of times throughout the year at different shows. But he knows that I've been working with Tony on trying to do some of these movie toy line videos. So I dug through his, loose figure bin and came up with a Sylvester Stallone figure from Demolition Man. Ryan, I think, has some of these guys carded, and I'm trying to get some of them loose. I already have some. But just to kind of have a nice variety to show off, for an episode that we'd like to do eventually. And he comes with the He-Man, New Adventures of He-Man armor, because they actually reuse He-Man's body for this figure. So I grabbed him for a hopeful future episode. I grabbed the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. This is one of those classic Kenner figures that's made up of parts from multiple figures. We want to do a Robin Hood episode at some point. The biggest problem with that one is there's a lot of playsets and vehicles that we don't have, but we have most of the figures in or out of package. So working towards that episode. And grabbed 2 Hook characters. Again, a line that we have a fair amount of collected to be able to do an episode at some point. Got the generic pirate, which I had him as a kid. Also picked up the Lost Boy here, Loose. I don't remember if he has a name. Is he Ace? For some weird reason, I think his name might be Ace. But he's one of the Lost Boys from that line. They didn't make a ton of them, even though it's like a huge gang of people in the movie. There, you need a couple like Lost Boys and pirates to round out the characters. It can't just be Peter Pan and Captain Hook. I also picked up from Chris this giant bendy California raisin. Anybody a fan? Will Vinton did these guys as stop-motion animation clay characters for the California Raisin brand, like produce. And they took off and were a cultural phenomenon in the 90s. I was pretty into it. I have a pretty substantial California Raisin collection that I don't really know where to display, or if I'm going to hang on to it forever. If you guys are interested in seeing that collection, I would do an episode on it sometime. So definitely leave me a comment down below if you want to see the raisins. At the tail end of our time at York, Tony and myself and some other people were hanging out in the lobby, and Rose was still digging, and she came out at the end. She found a dig box somewhere where everything was priced like $8 or $9, but the guy wanted to move the stuff, I guess, and was like, oh yeah, everything's $2 or $3. So even though everything was marked kind of too much for what it was, Rose ended up with great deals on all the things.
Look at all the goodies I got. Masters of the Universe and Thundercats.
Finding lots of Masters of the Universe and maybe some GoBots and a few other things in this dig bin. Possibly my last purchase of the day was this official G.I. Joe washable vinyl change purse and dollar bill pocket identification card and 12 photo holder. This is from 1986, the Live the Adventure time period here. It's got sci-fi on the package. The wallet itself is just a little vinyl wallet with the G.I. Joe logo on it. The card is kind of crunched up. It's not in the best of shape. And I was hemming and hawing about it, and I think Tony just kind of looked at me like, whoa, who are you kidding? Just buy it. So I did. I got a G.I. Joe wallet. Yeah. My favorite purchase of the day, which was my first purchase of the day, and the item I bought that Tony felt like took the cake for the day, the best purchase, was Plushie Lord Zed. He's got articulation at the arms. Now, I have seen the Rangers before. I did not remember that there was a Zed. He's got these weird feet with, like, twisted, gnarly toes. But my favorite part, he just looks so gosh darn happy. A couple other things I saw at York that I thought were interesting was some 2000X Masters of the Universe slippers with He-Man and Skeletor on them. Those are pretty rad. I also saw the Glamour Gals cruise ship. This is a huge boat dollhouse, and I had this as a kid, missing every accessory. My mom trash picked it somewhere, brought it home. I think she thought my sister would play with it, but it's out of scale for Barbies and things like that my sister would have had, and it was a little bit oversized for G.I. Joe maybe, but worked. Like, it was like a fudgeable, difference in size, and I didn't have the flag. And so I often used this cruise ship as like a battleship for G.I. Joe and had, adventures throughout it. My friend Derek and I also used it as Jabba's sail barge. So before the HasLab existed, the Glamour Gals cruise ship had plenty of room for all of Jabba's goons. The Rancor didn't really quite fit in it, but, we made do. I also really loved these Batman Returns party favors. This was a pack of fake money with the characters from Batman Returns on it, with Catwoman and Penguin and Batman. And it's so funny because, like, in the previous movie, the Joker had the fake Joker bucks as part of his plot that basically got cut out of the movie, but, was a piece of it. And now they're selling fake money related to the sequel. And what a weird party favor to get. I got play Batman money. Party favors are kind of a funky thing. Still to this day, it's always cheap, chintzy kind of stuff. Stickers and trading cards and little plastic doodads that break right away, but I thought these were funny. I picked up the White Ranger fishing bobber. This is a bizarre item of Power Ranger merchandise. I have been cutting way back on Power Ranger purchases. Now the Lightning Collection's dead. I think I'm really trying to cut down. But this is such a weird item. It's mint on card. I'm going to hang this on my wall. I think it's hilarious. I picked up Odd Job from the James Bond Jr. toy line. This is a toy line I'm trying to complete. At least get all the figures. I would love to have them all complete. but most of them I either have carded or loose with nothing. But I'm trying to get this whole line. I would really like to do an episode on it because I feel like it's sort of an underrepresented toy line. And they're funny, and I liked the cartoon show as a kid. Never had any of the toys. It's from just that sweet spot of the 90s where I knew that if I asked for too many different toy lines, I would end up with like one toy from every toy line. So I focused on G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles and stuff like Botsmaster and Bucky O'Hare and James Bond Jr. I just didn't own any of them, and that's probably why I collect those lines now, collecting the fun stuff that I skipped back in the day. I picked up 2 monsters from the LJN Dungeons & Dragons toy line. I think this one's called the Roper. I could be wrong, and this thing, I have no clue. It's like a brain with tentacles. I've seen its name before. I should know what it is. I'm a little embarrassed I don't know. But these guys have like the bendy wires inside them. I paid just a little more than I would have liked for these, but they are, in pretty good shape, and they're old LJN D&D toys, which are gaining a lot of popularity these days and getting more expensive. This one my buddy Derek had growing up, so this one had a lot more meaning to me, although I think this one is kind of the cooler monster. I have some of the LJN stuff. I have like a Fortress of Fang shell that I bounced off the highway when I moved. That story is in an old Pegwarmers episode. But I also have some of the loose figures. It's not a line that I am super vigilant at going after. But there was a time where I was, trying to pick up some of the stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the static PVC guys from that line. I have a few of them, but I don't think they're as much fun as the action figures. And kind of the bendies are a little weird too. It was such a strange line. Why did LJN? This could be a whole episode. There is a whole episode of Pegwarmers on the D&D toys. Check it out. But why did LJN make so many different styles of toys all in one line? The world may never know. There was also an antique show going on at the York Fairgrounds. We heard some people found some good stuff there early in the day, but we didn't end up going over. By the time we were done at the York Toy Show, everyone was kind of hungry, and so we met up with some other friends at Cheddar's. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this restaurant. I've eaten at it the past 2 toy shows I've gone to with Rose and Tony's. 2 different locations of Cheddar's. It's pretty good food for a pretty decent price. Kind of home cooking kind of thing. And it's sort of become like a joke in my group of friends about Cheddar's. But after that, Rose and Tony and I started heading back towards their place. But we stopped at the State Theater Vintage Emporium. This is an old-fashioned movie theater that's converted into a consignment store. So there's different booths within it. Different people own stuff that's there. And there's vintage clothes and record albums, but a lot of vintage toys. You walk into the lobby area, and then there's these steps to go up. It was really kind of cool layout. There's a lot of neat artwork and just cool display pieces, movie posters and things on the walls. And a lot of sort of repeated items because each one of these booths is sort of just putting out whatever they can find, their best stuff. So the Chrome Foot Soldier from the tail end of the Ninja Turtles line, there were 2 of them there, a loose one and a carded one. And that's a pretty rare figure. The cases had cool displays. There was Gargoyles toys there. I forgot how goofy some of them were. He-Man, Power Rangers, and so much more. There was another case that had the Commando action figure and Transformers and Thundercats. Lots of good stuff, including rare Masters of the Universe and Ninja Turtles toys. One of the booths had the Special Forces bootlegs. I have the Beachhead version, and I'm very tempted to get the other ones, but didn't pull the trigger today. Rose found a Shirt Tails puzzle to buy.
Found me a goodie.
One of Tony's favorite things he spied was a Crab Boglin. Those rubber hand puppet guys. Check out the lobster claw hand he's got. I was really digging this store, and then in their mix of Christmas music was a They Might Be Giants song. If you're playing Santa's Beard, you're my kind of shop. The last Gargoyles thing I noticed, and like I said, I really was zoning in on Gargoyles things. This is a line I need to not collect. I don't need anything else to collect, but I just kept noticing it this day, was the Gargoyle's Castle. What is going on with Goliath on the roof of the top tower with a gun? Oh my gosh, we gotta make this playset more action-packed. There was one vendor with a really cool kaiju collection that definitely made me think of my buddy Derek. My elementary school through high school best friend, who lives in Portugal, has a huge kaiju collection at his parents' house and has many of the same figures that were at this shop. Overall, it was a great day. I love getting to go and hang out with my friends and walk around toy shows, see cool stuff, pick up some new things. I did buy several items for a future episode of Pegwarmers, as well as take photos of other things at the show that is going into another episode. I may have touched on it slightly in this episode, but I actually kind of held some things out so that way it's not too repetitive when this other episode comes out. So there, the haul's slightly better. There's a few more pictures from the show, but they're not in this episode. I apologize for that. In the comments down below, what's your favorite thing that I picked up, or what do you think I missed? Thanks so much for watching the channel. We're getting close to Christmas here and the end of the year, and I think it's been a pretty good year for the channel, and I'm hoping all you guys are doing well. I'm planning to shoot a Christmas episode with Tony from Hack the Movies, so fingers crossed that gets done and gets out to you guys, possibly on Christmas Day. Do me a favor, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, share this video with a toy collecting friend. If you want to support the channel further, hit us up on Patreon. Thanks for hanging on the peg with me.